Hello and welcome back to Take a Knee with Mike and JD. I'm JD.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be doing our picks for week 4 of the NFL season. So without further ado, our first game here is Thursday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We have the Miami Dolphins at the Cincinnati Bengals. How do you see this one shaping up?
Look, I actually had a lot of trouble, trying to decide who to go with in this, and because logic says the Dolphins with how well they've been going, but the Bengals have surprised me. I thought they'd be doing better, so I'm actually going to go the Bengals. I think Burrow has a big game. I think they need it more. So I'm going the Bengals, but I think it should be a good game. I'm looking forward to this one.
It should be. It'd be interesting to see how well if Tua is healthy because he had that back injury last week. I'm kind of in the same boat. My first when I saw it, I went, okay, Miami should win, but Cincinnati, they're back at home. They should be feeling well for their win last week. They won in pretty convincing fashion. They played, well, besides Joe Burrow having 5 turnovers against the Steelers, they played pretty okay, their home opener, especially the defense. But I'm just going to have to go with my gut, and I'm going to say Miami. But it should be a good game. If Miami wins, it might be a game like last week where it's 2-3 point game like they had against the Bills. I've just been convinced by Miami. I just really like the way that they've played, especially their defense. So, I'm going to go with Miami. Our next game here. So, we actually have an early game on Sunday, which is the first London game of the year, which is the Minnesota Vikings at the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I look as much as I prefer the Saints to win, I think the Vikings will win. I think it's always hard. I mean, because it's difficult on both teams going over to London and that. But the Saints have not been convincing, and I think the Vikings will get them. Maybe even by 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm going with Minnesota. I think they're a better team. It is a neutral site, and both teams had to fly hours out to go out to London, so it's never easy for that week. But I just think Minnesota is the better team. I haven't been convinced by the Saints' offense. Their defense is okay, but I'm going to go with Minnesota as well. So The next game here, starting us off at the normal time slot on Sunday, is the Cleveland Browns at the Atlanta Falcons.
Look, I'm going the Browns in this one. I don't really know, but I'm going to go the Browns because I feel like they should be the better team.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Browns. It is always hard for me to pick the Browns, but I don't think the Falcons are as bad as some people make them out to seem, but I think the Browns have sort of showcased that they are a pretty well put together team, even without having Watson at the helm. So I think Cleveland probably pulls this out, and I think it'll be a closer game. I think it might be like a touchdown less kind of score, but I'm also going to go with Cleveland. The next game after that is, I think this is going to be one of the games of the weekend. I think it's going to be really entertaining to watch, is the Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens.
Gonna be a great game. Both teams playing, really well. I've been taking nothing away from Miami because they have been great. I'm still shocked that the Bills lost. I think the Bills are still a fantastic team. I think they're still probably one of the picks to win it all this year. But Miami did show that they are beatable. But I am picking the Bills to win this one. I think they'll be a bit stung from last week, and they'll be wanting to show that they are the team that everyone thinks they are.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with Baltimore. I think it'll be a good game. Lamar Jackson has just been playing out of his mind over the first 3 games. This might be a shootout. This might be kind of like, a 45-38 kind of game.
I agree.
They're both mobile quarterbacks. They can both throw. Obviously Jackson is the better runner. Allen is probably the better thrower. But playing at home where the Ravens like to play, even though they blew that Jets game, I think that also left them stung, just like how you kind of said with the Bills and the Dolphins. So I'm going to go with the Ravens on this one.
I think it'll certainly be close. It'll be a one-score game, a bit of a shootout, and it's going to be one of those ones that comes down to maybe like a key defensive play, like maybe a pick six or, a turnover that's unexpected.
Yeah, big strip sack, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So our next one is the Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I think, and talk about surprising teams. Like the Cowboys have been a surprising team with Dak going down, which in my mind, that was their chances of winning. But I've not seen much of Cooper Rush, but the fact that I hadn't seen much of him kind of made me think, well, they're in trouble. But they've been picking up the wins, and I think they do again this one. I think the Commanders can't stop anything. So I think the Cowboys get the win.
Yeah, especially with the Commanders going up with a kind of equal team to the Cowboys in the Eagles last week, and only coming away with 8 points, giving up 24. Like you said, I've been pretty impressed with Cooper Rush on how he's played. He's led them to victories against the Bengals, and now it was a really good divisional game with the against the Giants this week. So, I think that I think they could come out and win this game. Also, I'm not very convinced with Washington either. So, I'm gonna go here with the Cowboys. So our next game is the Seattle Seahawks at the Detroit Lions.
Look, I think the Lions will get the win here. I don't think this is going to be, kind of counter to a lot of the games talked about so far. I don't think this is going to be a great game. This might be one of the ones where I just watch the highlights after. But yeah, I think the Lions are the better team. Seahawks have definitely done a lot better than I thought they would. But Lions have, even when they haven't won, they've been staying in them, and I think they got a bit more than the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think the Lions have a pretty good offense, and a pretty okay defense. Like I said, Seattle did barely lose last week to the Falcons, another kind of poor team. But I think Detroit is probably the better team in this one, especially playing at home. So I'm gonna also take the Lions. Our next game is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Houston Texans.
The Chargers. The Chargers win this one. We talked about, the Texans have, in the last podcast, we talked about how the Texans have definitely been better than we thought, and not just kind of everyone's additional buy, but they're not in the same class as the Chargers, who, I thought they would be better placed than they are, but the Chargers win this.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers got embarrassed last week, and I think that maybe they sort of came into this season thinking that they were going to be one of the teams to beat in the AFC, so losing early might be the situation for this team where they didn't just lose last week, they got whooped by the Jaguars, so... Yep. I think they should come out. Houston, like you said, Houston's been playing pretty okay this year, but I think the Chargers want to come back out and win this game. So I don't think it'll be a close game. This might be like a 31-10 type of game for the Chargers. Our next one is a pretty important game for the AFC South in the beginning of the year. It is the Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, look, I think this will be fairly close. I'm tipping the Colts. I think Jonathan Taylor has been fairly well contained, but I think he's going to have a pretty big game in this one. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference. It's a one-score game for mine, but I see the Colts coming out on top.
Yeah, I think what the issue is that we've seen that Indy's offense is kind of taking a lot longer to launch than they would have hoped. I think this is a coin flip kind of game. I think there's as good of a chance for either of these teams to win. And I think out of the two, Indianapolis probably needs it more, but I think Tennessee can go in there and win, so I'm going to take the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Our next game is the Chicago Bears at the New York Giants. Both surprisingly 2-1 so far this year.
They are. Both teams have surprised me, especially the Giants. I didn't, see them going so well, at least so early. But they're a team, much like the Panthers to an extent, but it depends on the health of their star running back. And so far, Barkley's remained healthy and is playing well. So for that reason, another one-score game. I think I don't think an overly high-scoring game, but I'm tipping the Giants.
Yeah, it's the Giants. Coming off what we would thought to be a bad team. It's not that they've just won. They've won. They've played well to win these games.
Yeah, they have.
And they played,
absolutely.
And they played well against the Cowboys and lost. So. It is an interesting team to watch. The Bears sort of snuck out. Their 2 wins, though, have kind of been sneaky wins, winning by just a few points. And they obviously got beat pretty bad by Aaron Rodgers. But I just have to agree with you, especially playing at home. I think the Giants.
Daddy came home.
Daddy came home, that's right. I think I'm going to have to take the Giants as well on that one. Our next one is Jacksonville at Philadelphia.
Yeah, look, I'm going the Eagles here. Another team that surprised has been the Jaguars. Looks like they've had so many picks in the draft last year, and a lot of that seems like it's starting to pay off. It looks like they've hit pretty well with a lot, but I just think, with the form that Hurts is in, which he surprised me. I've never been really big on Jalen Hurts, but he's been playing really well. The Eagles have been playing really well. Maybe a 1-2 score game win for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's funny because their offense has been playing pretty okay. But I think Philadelphia is just playing better, especially coming home after, kind of beating the crap out of the Commanders. I think Philadelphia is feeling pretty good about themselves right now. I don't think they should feel too well because Jacksonville's definitely a team that if you sort of slip up, how they're playing could probably come out and surprise you and beat you, just like with the Chargers last week. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take Philly as well. I just feel like they're the better team right now. Our last early game on Sunday is the New York Jets at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, look, I think you guys will get the win. I don't know how much of an attractive game this is going to be, but especially with the home advantage, I think
I'm hoping that this game can be the springboard because they are playing a bad team, especially as they're constructed right now with their injuries. So if this was in New York, I would pick the Jets because the Steelers can never beat the Jets in New York. But since they're playing in Pittsburgh, I think Joe Flacco is probably going to start again. I just feel like they need to take advantage of this. No, I don't want to. There is no easy game in the NFL, really. I mean, the league has become. There's been a lot more parity in the league, especially as of recently. But I think they need to use this game against a sort of lesser opponent than they've had the last couple of weeks and use that to get confidence in themselves. The O-line, the running game, the pass game, even the defense without TJ Watt. But I'm also going to take the Steelers on this one. Not to say that it won't be close. I don't think the Steelers are going to blow them out, but I'm hoping maybe like a 24-10 type of game I think would make them feel pretty good about themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our late games on Sunday. Our first one is at 4:05 p.m. It is the Arizona Cardinals at the Carolina Panthers.
Look, I'm going to go the Cardinals. I think they'll win fairly well here. Kyler Murray's been playing well. They just look like a better team.
I'm going to go with Carolina. Their losses, especially they played well week one and they played pretty well to beat the Saints last week. I'm not really convinced too much with Arizona. Their one win was because of a fluke fumble in overtime. Other than that, they got whooped by the Chiefs, and they got handled pretty well against the Rams last week. So until they show me more, I'm not in on the Cardinals that much. So I'm gonna take Carolina on that one.
You're not impressed by Kyler Murray looking like your quarterback in Madden with the way he runs around and fucking.
That's true. Our next game is of interest to one of us. It is the 4:25 game. It's the New England Patriots at the Green Bay Packers.
Look, I biased here, but I think Green Bay win and win well. New England is probably playing better than their talent suggests they should. But they've just been kind of hanging into games, kind of, with, Mac Jones just being able to kind of run exactly what Belichick wants. But he's still out, is that right? Like last I heard, he was out. I hadn't heard the latest MRI on that. But in any case, yeah. I don't think it matters. I think, as I said in the last podcast, Green Bay have been building really nicely, and being back at home, I think, they win and win well.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Green Bay Packers, basically for every reason you just said. Being back in Green Bay, just coming off of a big win down in Tampa where, that was kind of revenge because of the AFC Championship game, and then that time, just a couple years ago when Tampa Bay really whooped the shit out of Aaron Rodgers. So I think he's feeling good about himself. Maybe if the Jumbotron guy in Green Bay can just film the sideline of the Patriots the whole time and put it up on the Jumbotron, Aaron could just pick off, what play they're going to run. So
he can, he'll just give Joe Barry the heads up.
Our last midday game is the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Broncos for mine. And look, maybe the Broncos have been far from impressive and very, very surprising given how good a quarterback Wilson is. But look, I think they are building where the Raiders are absolutely falling apart. And I am trying my best not to smile while I say this, but I think it'll be another loss and confirmation of no playoffs for Adams and his Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, it's Denver. Even though I'm not too convinced on their offense because they haven't been playing pretty well, but I've been burned by the Raiders so far this year. So until they win, I don't really want to pick them. Sure, last week was a close game. The week before, maybe they could have won, but it was a bad luck fumble to fumble in overtime. But they're sort of falling apart at the seams right now. So until they win one, I can't really go and pick them and continue to lose picking them. So I'm going to go with Denver. Our Sunday night game, it should be a pretty good matchup. It is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I will say this. We do have a hurricane coming through right now. It's Category 4 as of the day of the taping. It's supposed to come right into the Tampa Bay area. So this game might be postponed. I think the alternate site might be Minnesota if they have to move it. So this game may not take place. It may be moved. But I just wanted to put that in there. But how do you see, even if it's moved or anything, how do you see this game shaping up?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an absolute coin flip. I mean, both teams have not been quite what they have been in the past. Both teams have issues, but both teams also have, Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And I just think it's probably going to be a bit of a shootout. I've actually gone back and forwards on who to pick, but I'm going to go the Buccaneers, but with no confidence whatsoever because I could see the Chiefs winning just as easy.
Yeah, it depends on if Tom Brady gets more of his playmakers back on offense. Again, I think Patrick Mahomes hates it when he loses, especially in a way that he lost last week. So they're the away team either way, so I don't think it really matters to them where they play. The Bucs might like to have played at home, so to them it might not feel like a home game. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. Yeah, just looking at the article again, they could play in New Orleans or they could play up in Minnesota. So it depends on how where the hurricane is progressing, and if they need to use Raymond J as an emergency site for the hurricane victims. So I hope everybody who's down there gets someplace safe, and if they can't, I hope they are able to make it through the storm okay.
Absolutely.
And our last game for this week is the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, I'll let you take this one first. I seem to always answer first, so why don't you go?
Sure. I'm going to pick the Rams. San Francisco, now they're sort of back to the team they were last year with Jimmy G. I think he'll play better than he did last week, but the Rams now have momentum. I think they sort of got over that Super Bowl hangover. So I'm going to go out and take the Rams in this one.
I'm going to go the 49ers, mainly because you went the Rams. But this one, I think this will be a close game, and I just I don't know. I think Shanahan's going to adjust a few things, and they'll come out on top.
Okay, so that is our picks for Week 4. If you've listened along, please put your picks down in the comments on if you think we're right or wrong, or just pick who you think will win. Again, thanks for listening. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And thank you. And I hope you guys have a nice day.
Have a good one, guys.